Chapter 16. The Confrontation. The walk back to the house was a funeral procession of two. The sun was still shining, the ocean was still glittering, but the world had turned gray. Julian walked with a relaxed, athletic stride, carrying Elena's bag over one shoulder as if it weighed nothing. Elena walked a step behind, her legs feeling like lead. They entered the house. The heavy glass door slid shut with a hiss, sealing them in the climate-controlled silence. Julian walked to the kitchen island. He placed the leather tote bag on the marble. It sat there like a loaded bomb. "Tea," he said. It wasn't a question. He moved around the kitchen, filling the kettle. His movements were precise, domestic. It was terrifying. Elena stood by the island, her arms wrapped around herself. She calculated the distance to the knife block. Too far. She calculated the distance to the stairs. Pointless. Julian placed a steaming mug in front of her. Chamomile, for the nerves. He stood opposite her, the island acting as a barricade between them. He leaned his hands on the marble, mirroring the way he had leaned on her car window. "You're trembling," he noted. "I'm cold," she lied. "You're lying," he said comfortably. "You're not cold, Elena. You're terrified." He reached for the bag. Elena flinched. "Julian, don't—" "Let's see what you packed for your escape," he said, ignoring her. He unzipped the tote. The sound was as loud as a gunshot in the quiet room. He pulled out the cashmere sweater. He tutted softly. "Messy packing, unlike you. Usually you fold everything." He tossed the sweater onto the counter. He pulled out the makeup bag. Then his hand stopped. Elena stopped breathing. He had found it. Julian pulled the iPad out slowly. He held it up to the light, inspecting the cracked screen. He didn't look surprised. He looked resigned. "Silas's lost tablet," he murmured. "I tore the library apart looking for this 3 months ago. I assumed he had lost it in a taxi." He placed the device gently on the counter. He looked up at Elena. His eyes were arctic. "You found the recording." Elena's throat was so tight she could barely speak. "Yes." "And you were taking it to the authorities," Julian deduced, his voice devoid of emotion. "You were going to drive to the nearest precinct, play them the file, and trade my life for your freedom." "I was going to do the right thing," Elena whispered. Julian laughed. It was a sharp barking sound that made her jump. "The right thing? Elena, look at me. Look at this house. Look at your shoes. There is no right thing. There is only the winning thing and the losing thing." He walked around the island. Elena backed up instinctively. She hit the counter behind her. She was trapped. Julian closed the distance. He didn't rush. He stalked. He stopped inches from her, blocking out the light, blocking out the room. "Silas was weak," Julian said. His voice was low, intense, vibrating in the small space between them. "He wanted to stop the defense contracts. He wanted to bankrupt the company to save his conscience. I built this empire, Elena. I wasn't going to let a junkie burn it down because he found God." He leaned in closer. She could smell the mint of his toothpaste and the sweat of his workout. "I killed him," Julian said. The confession hung in the air, naked and brutal. "I mixed the fentanyl into his scotch," Julian continued, his eyes locking onto hers. "I watched him drink it. I watched him panic. I watched him die. And then I went to work." Tears pricked Elena's eyes, not from sadness, but from sheer terror. He had said it. He had handed her the weapon, but he was holding the gun. "Are you going to kill me too?" she asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. Julian tilted his head. He studied her face. He looked at the pulse hammering in her neck. He looked at her fear. He raised his hand. Elena flinched, squeezing her eyes shut, bracing for the blow, but it didn't come. She felt his fingers graze her jawline. His touch was gentle, almost reverent. "Kill you?" Julian asked softly. He opened his hand and cupped her face, forcing her to look at him. Why would I destroy my greatest asset? He stepped back. He picked up the iPad and tossed it casually onto the counter. It clattered loudly. I don't want to kill you, Elena, he said, a dark smile spreading across his face. I want to buy you.